Are you ready to figure out how to make your potato soup 10 times better than it already is? Well, today I'm gonna walk you through step by step all the information you need to level up your potato soup, and trust me, this way of making it is 10 times better than your traditional potato soup. So stick around and let's dive right in. For our potatoes in the soup, we want to bake these first because they are not going to get cooked enough if we do not bake them a little bit first. So we are cleaning these and rinsing them off, and then I'm gonna throw all of them on a sheet pan together. I know some people really like to use aluminum foil and wrap them, but I do not do it that way because I like to get a more of a hard, crunchy shell with the skin versus if you wrap it in tin foil, it gets kind of soggy. So we're gonna slather these in some olive oil and sprinkle a bit of sea salt over the top. And then make sure to stab them with a fork. Sounds a bit aggressive, but you wanna stab them with your fork so they can get some air bubbles in there or oxygen through the potato while baking. And then we will add these in the oven for 45 minutes. So first we want to get all the potatoes that we have already pre-baked out. I baked these a couple nights ago and wrapped them in saran wrap just so then I wouldn't have to do so much same day. It's just a lot easier if you kind of look at your recipe and kind of prep a little bit ahead of time, be like, oh, I'm gonna need my potatoes baked. So let's bake them a couple nights before, keep them in the fridge, and then you're good to go when you want to actually put your soup together. So one of my tips to making this potato soup so much better is to leave the skin on. There's a lot of flavor in potato skins. So I leave the skin on my potatoes, and I also cut them in kind of bigger chunks. So not necessarily super tiny chunks, but like keep them a little bigger. And you want to get all your ingredients prepped and ready before you start heating up your soup or heating up the milk, because it can burn so easily. And if you are starting on the stove or you're like, oh, I'll just put my butter and milk in there and let that like kind of sit. And then like chop up your potatoes. No, I promise you it will burn. So you want to make sure you have your potatoes ready, your cheese shredded, your bacon cooked and crumbled, all before you heat up your milk and your soup base. And the professionals call that mise en place, I believe is how you pronounce it. I'm not a professional, so if that's not the correct way to pronounce it, I'm sorry. Now that we've got all of our potatoes cubed up, I am going to get our bacon and we're gonna chop that up too. And you want 4 russet potatoes for this soup. So that's how much I have in here. And again, I also made our bacon a few nights ago, prepping ahead to help myself in the future. And there are 12 to 14 bacon strips here. I used an entire packet of bacon for this because you can never have too much bacon. Am I right or am I right? All right, let's get this chopped up. Now that we've got our bacon all chopped up, we need to shred our cheese. We aren't even gonna need this block of cheese because we've got all we need in here. So it'll come out. Now that we have all of our major components prepped and ready to go for making our soup, we can start making our soup base. And you will not want to miss this. This has 2 key items that you want to make sure you do to level up your soup and make it 10 times better. So let's get started on actually putting our soup together now. So there might actually be more than 2 tips in this section for you, because the first one, you want to make sure you have a large soup pot or stock pot or Dutch oven, just something really big that can fit all of your soup, because we are going to be doing 7 cups of milk. So this is gonna make a large soup. And you want butter. You always gotta have butter with potato soup. We are gonna add 11 tablespoons of butter to our pot and have that start getting melted. While we wait for our butter to melt, we are going to measure our 7 cups of milk. And I am using my wonderful 8-cupper that you guys see me use a lot for pancake batter. I'm gonna pour all our milk in here because that'll hold all 7 cups that I need. So also while our butter melts, we are going to measure our flour because this is one of the key ingredients to making your potato soup 10 times better, is to make it technically a chowder, which means we add a roux to it, so butter and flour, which thickens our soup. So you always want to make sure you add flour to your butter to make it really thick, and it just makes your soup 10 times better. So we need 2/3 cup of flour. Okay, so here comes our kind of crazy part to making this soup. It's gonna be fast, we don't want it to burn, so we gotta constantly be stirring. But we're gonna sprinkle in some flour, and you wanna stir it in. And as much as you can, you wanna try and add it slowly so you don't get chunks of flour. Now that this is incorporated, here is the next super important part. When we're adding our milk, we want to constantly be stirring this because the flour butter mixture can easily burn on the bottom. So it's an arm workout, but you need to do it, otherwise you're gonna burn your soup. We're gonna slowly add our milk. And the reason I know it will burn is I know from experience. Last year, I was making this soup and I've done it 100 times, but I was like, oh, I don't need to stir it. I have a nonstick pan, it'll be fine. No, it burnt to the bottom portion like this much was just burnt and black, and we couldn't really tell until we went to eat it, and the entire soup was ruined. We had to throw it out because it was all it just tasted burnt. So, stir constantly. Now that we have all of our milk in, it is looking nice and creamy and really well combined. So we are going to add our potatoes and green onions now. And this is another spot where we want to keep stirring. Can you tell the theme? Keep stirring, don't let it burn. Because we're gonna bring it to a boil so it really thickens and then we're gonna reduce it. So when it's boiling, you don't want it to stick to the bottom, so we gotta stir. All right, now carefully add all your potatoes without making a huge mess. Jeez. Just made a slight mess, but it's okay. All right, and then our green onions. And then we're gonna turn the heat up and let it boil. Okay, now that our potato soup is boiling, we are gonna reduce it to a simmer and then let it set for 10 minutes. And again, don't just let it set for 10 minutes and walk away. Make sure to stir every couple minutes just to make sure you're getting the stuff from the bottom mixed in and it's not just sitting there and burning. And don't get stressed that like this sounds really hard to not burn it. It's not that hard. It's just, you gotta keep stirring it. So I've turned my heat down. We're gonna let it simmer for 10 minutes and then we'll add the rest of our ingredients. And then this will be done. I am gonna add it into a crock pot so it can just sit on low all day. If I leave it sit on the stove, it is gonna burn. I'm just gonna transfer it to a crock pot. It's super easy to do that. You could do that and then also like take it to Thanksgiving or take it to Christmas, or if you're doing like a soup Christmas. It's one thing I love about soups is they're so versatile and you can really eat them and take them anywhere. So simmering for 10 minutes and I'm gonna do some dishes. Now that our soup is all nice and creamy, it's thick, we are going to add the rest of our ingredients. So we've got all of our bacon bits, an entire cup of sour cream. You could also use Greek yogurt if you want. And this makes it, or gives it, a really good texture. Nice and creamy and just silky smooth. And then of course, all of our shredded cheddar cheese. And you could use, if you don't want to buy a block cheese, you could use the pre-shredded cheese. However, it's probably not gonna be as good because when the pre-shredded bag cheese is made, they put an anti-caking agent on it, so then it doesn't stick together in the bag. That's why it's all nice and loose when you go to get stuff. So that does cause it to not melt as well in soups and stuff. So I would highly recommend getting a block of cheese and just grating it up yourself. It just makes it so much better. And then this is it. Although actually, you need a little bit of salt and pepper. So we're gonna add that, just like a pinch. There is already a decent amount of salt from the bacon that we just put in there, so. And then probably 2 pinches of pepper because we got a lot of soup here. This is gonna be so good. Okay, we are gonna add this to our crock pot and then we are gonna be done. Fingers crossed I don't spill anything. Oh, might not all fit in there. Wow, this is gonna be so good. I promise you and your family will absolutely love this recipe. Your kids and everyone will be asking you to make it again because it is so good. So make sure to check out the recipe linked in the description. And if you are interested in some other soup ideas that you can make in your crock pot, check out this video linked here. It's got a chili and a taco soup recipe.